Hello, I am Baal Kadmon, and I'd like to thank you for watching and or listening to this video. Wow, I have to say, so many people have enrolled in my program, Naamah, Mother of Demons, Mistress of Night, because, so many people have asked me to create a program on Naamah or Naamah, and in this video, I'm going to present to you one of the lessons in this program dealing with a very obscure text that presents Naamah or Naamah in a very interesting light. We all know of her demonic aspect, right? But and she's very important in that aspect. But there's stories about her from before that transformation that actually shows that she's the mother of humanity, that she was one of the survivors of the flood, and she birthed humanity, which is just an amazing irony. Anyway, if you are interested in the program, you can enroll in the link below. But here is a video from that program. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome back. In the previous video, we read from the Book of Jasher or Jasher, and we saw the mentions of Naamah, but it added quite a significant amount to the story. So let's do a little bit of a comparison between and commentary between Genesis and the Jasher version. So in the Bible, in Genesis chapter 4, verse 22, we saw that Tzila bore Tubal-Cain, and the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. And that's it, right? There's no further detail. She's just name-dropped in Cain's lineage. But here we have in the Book of Jasher that it expands that genealogy into more of a narrative, right? So because now it's describing Tzila, because remember in the Old Testament, it just says Tzila bore children, right? But here in Jasher, it says that Tzila is described as old and withered away when she is conceiving both Tubal-Cain and Naamah. And the names also are given meaning, right? So Tubal-Cain is obtained from the Almighty, right? And Naamah is pleasure and delight. So we did not have that in the Book of Genesis where the names were derived from something, right? We do see stuff like that in the Bible, but we didn't see it when it came to Tubal-Cain and Naamah. But here in the Book of Jasher, we do see this, right? Where it turns a list of names into a story with some type of meaning, right? So what we saw is the Bible is very terse. It's name-only genealogy, where Jasher adds miracle language and interpretations of names and stuff. So, Naamah is marginal in the Bible, but in Jasher, she is a little bit more significant. But then we move on to chapter 5 of Jasher, and this is very interesting because this is now dealing with that. Remember, I mentioned the story of Noah's wife. So if we look at Genesis chapter 6, verse 18, and then chapter 7, verse 7, we know that Noah has a wife and his sons have wives, but no names are given for the wives. It focuses entirely on the covenant and the fact that Noah's righteous and all of that. And so Jewish and Christian tradition, as I mentioned, they wrestle with this type of silence, right? Now, in the Book of Jasher, though, Noah's wife is named as Naamah, daughter of Enoch. And by the way, it's Chanoch in Hebrew, but Enoch is the way it's pronounced in English, and I'll just keep that pronunciation. And another thing that's interesting, it gives her age. She's 580 years old at the time of her marriage. But here's something that I found really interesting. She gives birth to Yefet and Shem, right? And so, as is customary, Yefet is named Yefet because God has enlarged me, and Shem, God has made me a remnant. What's interesting is that the third son is not mentioned, Ham. And Ham is considered to be the wayward of the sons. And notice that Naamah is not his mother. Now, that is very interesting. So what's happening here is Naamah is giving birth only to the righteous children. Because in Judaism, Yefet, or Japheth, however you want to pronounce it, but in Hebrew it's Yefet, he was known to be the earliest ancestor of Europe. And Shem is the earliest ancestor of the Semitic people, that is both Arab, Jewish, and other Semitic people. And that's where the word Semitic comes from. Sem comes from Shem. So that's very interesting that, and Ham in rabbinic texts is pretty much Africa, some parts of North Africa, including Egypt, and the rest of Africa. And it's interesting that he was omitted here. But in the Bible, Ham is considered to be the wayward son. And to me, there's quite a tinge of racism in these texts. And so that's probably why Ham was not mentioned here, because he represented something that they did not like, apparently, because Naamah is only the mother of Yefet and Shem. And, and you see this type of shit in the Bible all the time. And this is why, people who, these messed up white supremacist people and, all these fascist type of people, they quote the Bible to condone their stupid ideas. And unfortunately, many rabbinic texts sort of fall in line with that. Okay, so it's unfortunate. So anyway, when we look at this, we see that the Bible was very simple, right? Noah's righteous, he has a wife, he has sons, ark story begins, that's it. But in Yashar, we see this pedigreed narrative. Noah's wife is identified. She has genealogical roots of Enoch, who's very holy. He's the first one who walked with God, right? She's miraculously giving birth to children at 580 years old. And of course, the symbolic, names. So the difference, the bigger difference is that the Bible is, how can I put this? It keeps the story, Noah's story, universal, right? It's focusing on the covenant, the flood, God's judgment, and the wives' names aren't pertinent to the overall theological ideas that are present there. But Yashar is trying to personalize and expand it, and it starts adding more detail to the story. Now, what I find most interesting is that the book of Yashar is trying to reconcile the Naamah of the Cainites and the Naamah of the Sethites. And this is a very bold reconciliation attempt. It bridges the Cainite and Sethite lines, showing how humanity's future came even through Cain's descendants, Naamah. Whereas the Bible keeps those lines separate. But in Yashar, they're bringing them together. So, it's very interesting, right? It's very interesting how the book of Yashar adds all of this extra context, the ages, the names, and gives you why they're named that, and it stresses it. What I think it does, if I were to have read this during the times that this was published, I would actually prefer the version of Yashar over the Bible, because the Bible, again, especially the first 5 books of the Bible, the Torah, Genesis through Deuteronomy, some of the stories are quite elaborate, yes, but a lot of them aren't. And, you sort of want to learn more about the lives of some of these patriarchs, right? We don't really know a shit ton about Noah and Abraham and even Moses himself, even though Moses is spoken about quite extensively in the Torah, from Exodus on. But the Book of Jasher and other books in this general genre are so much warmer, right? You start to look into the patriarch's soul, right? You get to see their lives, you get to see what the names of their wives are. And of course, some of these texts conflict with each other. Noah's wife was a different name once, and there's all sorts in other texts, right? So, but I like these later interpretive texts. I like them because it really adds backstory. And I think the reason why they were created was because of that, because people couldn't relate to the starkness of the Old Testament. People loved Noah, but they were like, we don't really know him, right? Whereas these texts opened their lives up. And of course, they're not considered canonical, but in my eyes, they should be, because it brings these stories to life in ways that I think are very good. So anyway, that's it for this video. In the next video, I'm going to cover one more topic in this module. See you then. There you have it, a video from my program Naamah, Mother of Demons, Mistress of Night. I hope you enjoyed it. It's very interesting, right? Of these stories that are out there that no one really knows about, that involve not just Naamah, but many different biblical figures. But it is interesting about Naamah that if she's the one, as I stated in my program, that caused the angels to fall, and then the sin upon the earth, but then she's also the mother of humanity after the flood, then that's something big. Now, of course, the rabbis had different excuses for different things. I cover all that in the program. Anyway, if you're interested in that program, the link is below. And that's it for this video. I will speak to you soon. So mote it be.